Hello, subscribers to my channel. There are exactly right now 5 of you. One of you asked me about the setting of the drag on Baitcast, and specifically because of the review I did on the Lose, which is this one. It's in a couple pieces. There's a reason for that. So, on a typical round reel, regardless of brand, it usually has something that looks a little bit like that down the center of it. Okay, so you have the back bearing and one of the carrier gears. Okay, this goes into the actual, on this side has the clicker that, the knob on the side actuates. That's for things like catfish, whatnot. Remember I told you that if you don't line this up in here with the one that's in this part and with the spindle of the spool that I'm going to show in a second at the same time, it will not move. So you gotta be careful with that with any round reel. So this one has, I'm throwing you 2 different kinds of reels just so you get a good reference. Has a very easily removable spindle that activates that other gear. And these are the dip switches of this particular reel. Okay, the factory setting on this has I have my reel so well lubed that the bearings are very free floating now, so I have to be careful when I remove it. So it's only one switch that's on right now. If I didn't have that on there, it would completely be free floating. There would be no magnetic to it at all. On this particular one, since I left it on, I have not read which way is activated, but typically on a round reel, it's pulling one out is what activates it. I don't know how they mechanically make it to where it activates a magnet. They all have similarities. It's interesting to me that they do, because I notice anytime I pull a switch or dip a switch, that it's changed the magnetic effect. And I have no idea what the technology behind that is. I'm a redneck. I don't know shit about that. I just know that it works. So, the first newer high-end reel that I got was a Shimano Chronarch 200 E7. It's got 7 bearings. Okay, it is a low profile. I got it with a Ducket Ghost medium heavy fast tip 7-foot. This is my primary light work reaction rod, throwing flukes, small crankbaits, stick baits, jerk baits, for that type of thing. Some of the lighter Alabama rig, excuse me, not Alabama, I hate those damn things, Carolina rig. The lighter ones I'll use with this. The medium heavy rod that I have with it complements it very well. It's all white. I actually got accused of being racist because of my rod one time on the water. I'm not even kidding you. That was a fucking joke. So, this is a 7-to-1. It's very, very, very spinning. I have very well maintained this. I've only taken it apart once. It has a captured spindle with the tine on it. It does not work like the round reels where I have to line everything up. I slip this in, I flip the cover right here. This is why I like Shimano's and Andrew Garcia's with this feature. Pop it, drop it, put it in. If I pay $40 for the extra spool, I can change my lines instantly, basically. And it's great. On the other side is the dips. You will notice that there's one popped out. On the Shimano's, out is what activates it. Okay? Always. On all of them. This is just, I call this the controlled chaos setting on my Chronarch. Basically what this amounts to is I'm just giving myself enough magnet not to fuck myself up really bad. And the reason I say that is I was raised on baitcasters. I started off on Adweed round reels. Started off. My dad had me refurbished my Abu round. I had a 3500 Classic from the time I had it, and every year since. And when I moved out and took my fishing equipment with me, I left my rods at his house because there was a while where I didn't fish, but I brought the Quantum that I had and the Abu Garcia that I had so that I could continually maintain them or keep them stored and keep them safe. And that Abu, I had it all the way up until 2 years ago when I donated it. And I replaced parts on it every year that I fished it. I ordered directly from Abu Garcia, and I always pulled the parts, put new parts in it. Was very familiar with that round reel. There are differences in round reels, but they're very minimal compared to the differences between all these motherfuckers, okay? These low profiles, they have so many differences from brand to brand. Like, just to think about it, if I was going to do reel repair, I would be exactly like these guys are and charge an arm and a leg, because they're a bitch to fucking work on. I mean, this 200, this little tiny thing that fits in the palm of my hand, this thing has like 70 moving parts, okay? This has like 20, if that. I mean, come on. You know? Everything that can be anodized aluminum, it's not brass, but anodized aluminum is. Everything that can be steel is. The only thing I would change on this particular reel is the big gear, the cog gear, and this one. And if possible, this one with the magnets would be metal. I would order it that way. The Kalex that I had an Abu Garcia Kalex 51, smaller one, had brass gears that I ordered for it. I ordered them off of eBay, got the Kalex for $50. The brass parts were about 20. Worked great. Sold it at a profit. But I love round reels because they inherently cast further and easier than the equivalent low profile. Where the low profiles come into play is when you are fishing all day. When you fish a round reel, your hand is cupping all the time, especially when you have a rod attached, because then you're using even more. When I have this on my Ghost, it's almost like lifting air. It weighs less than a pound between the reel and the rod. When I have this on the musky rod that it's on, it weighs 2 pounds. Big difference. But to get to your point of specifically with the dip switches, I'm going to assume that just like with the 200 that this is the same and that they pull out to activate. It's factory set. I'm not going to change it because my adjustments with the lower weight one, they're perfect. I don't have any issues. It casts so easy that to even lob it, the thing's gone 30, 40 yards without any effort. So why would I jinx that by changing settings internally? It's just my thought. The SC600 is a 600 size class reel, and it has a fairly large spindle. This has 120 yards of 30 pound on it. If it's 15 to 17 pound, it can hold almost 400, especially fluorocarbon because it's a thinner diameter. Crosscut to this. See how much smaller my 200 is? 200, 600. So, those are things to be aware of. But yeah, I mean, you can see plain as day which one is activated on my Chronarch one. The Shimano baitcasts, if you're going to be looking for the low profiles, Shimano and Daiwa are both really good. Abu Garcia is phenomenal. I have an Aura winch too in 5/4-1. It's strong as shit. It will crank the biggest crankbaits down to their full depth and cast them far. I have that on. That one has 20 pound Berkley big game, and I have that on a 7'11" Okuma Guide Select swim bait rod, which is an extra heavy, fast tip. And I throw all the way up to my 8-ounce swim baits on it, and my big crankbaits, and that's the only one I use for that. The only time that this lose comes out on the musky rod is when I'm throwing the 12-inch and above swim baits. And if I'm doing it, I'm going for monsters. So, anyway, that's, from my knowledge, going back a long ways, how they're activated. The majority of them pull out to activate and push in to disengage. I don't know how that works mechanically. I don't know how it works scientifically. All I can tell you is that that's how it happens on the reels that I have. Hopefully that gives you a little more clarification. Now I got to take about 5 minutes to get this lose back the right way together, because if you don't line it up right, it just doesn't work. So, in prologue format, even though it's after and should be epilogue, if you touch a round reel, okay, please either research on Google with exploited diagrams or the catalog or manual that comes with the reel, and know what is in your reel first, please, because there are minor differences, but they are minor in a way that they change the function of the reel, but they're major in how you put them together, no matter how classic the design is. The big reason I got this lose is because it had a really nice full finger pad with a curve down for the thumb. Very comfortable to cast. And when you're grabbing it, it's got that for your thumb. So you get a lot more purchase. Always look for these type of things that you know are going to make it more comfortable no matter what size the round reel is, for freshwater and bass fishing especially. And you will save yourself time and effort and fatigue when you fish with it. And that should be good. If you have any other questions, please feel free to let me know. I'm also on Facebook if you want to look for me. You see me, I have stupid fish picture right on my Facebook, but it's a 3-part name, 3 pieces: Balerion, Fireball, Draconia. If you put Balerion, it'll probably bring it right up. I'm open to IM at any point in time. You have no problem. I'm always welcome to invite new messages. That goes for anybody that's doing fishing related stuff. If it's political related or anything social wise, please keep it on my YouTube in the comments. But if it's for fishing, ping me on Facebook anytime.